Hello everyone on the internet and thanks for tuning in. I'm RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku.
And welcome to another episode of Toku Bros. I'm your host, Dragon Zeron of the Tokusatsu Media Center.
Kiramager Sparkling! Well, so Kiramager episodes 19 to 22. You have watched 22, right?
Yes, I watched it this morning.
I watched it this afternoon, so I can't really criticise you, can I? But yes, we are talking about Kiramager. How are you feeling about this one, boy?
Well, we've been getting a pretty good arc with these Kirame stones, or whatever they're calling them now.
See, I am actually going to disagree with you because I would say, the last month, I'd say 19 and 20 were good episodes, and 21 and 22 I was not feeling. But let's start off by actually talking about rumour news and scans. Have you seen any scans lately?
I just know that they're going to be getting a team power up.
Yes, of course we are. I believe it's called Kirame Go.
I think so. And I like the look of it. Something about it just makes it look fresh or something.
I gotta disagree with you. I mean, it's still we can tell it's a power up. It's got nice white shoulders, if I remember correctly.
That's what I like about it. It's
but I think to be fair, right? So in my opinion, the Kiramager suit design is actually pretty good. I actually do like it. I like the whole translucent, crystallized helmets and stuff, sparkly bits. I believe I said that when we first started talking about Kiramager. But it's where do you go? In my opinion, where do you go from there? And all they've done is they've added these heavy white accents, which I do not like. I kind of like. They should have done. Again, they could have toned it down. They could have demixed it, but I don't know. I'll be honest. I'm not. Again, when it comes to story, I don't know. I don't read too much. But I think they could have done something again because they're quite nice suits, but I'm not really feeling it. I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah, I like them. It's just something about it just makes it seem that it's very unique compared to last team ups or on power ups. That teams receive, and I just something about it is fresh, and that's what I like about it. But that doesn't mean his execution would be good, because it'll probably have something to do with those four stones, being.
Well, this is what we're gonna be talking about. So coming up to episode 19, so 18 and before was all about our hero Kirama Silver hunting for the Granta stones, and I'll be honest, I'm not I think the story has movement, but I'm not. But the way they're executing it is alright. Even COVID hiatus to one side, it just seems alright. He's had this book this whole time, and only now is he getting into it. But let's talk about episode 9. Specifically, episodes 19 and 20 were technically filler, but I'm gonna say I absolutely enjoyed these episodes, even though they didn't serve for plot progression. I felt it was kind of still good storytelling.
They were very they took the filler episode and made it their own, the stereotypical thing. It felt like that they're taking the fillers and creating something different out of them.
Well, they were definitely creating something different because they would doing these kind of really good twists. Especially when it comes to episode 19. I was actually impressed with the episode. There were a few things that were cliche and the whole recycling being the old troop, recycling the old troop, troop. I'm trying to get the word out. Tropes. That's what I'm trying to. They're recycling the old tropes. But once again, I do kind of feel that Kiramager has taken a typical trope and twisted it. It's a filler with a good story, and the whole thing with brain swapping is so done before. But
the Zord thing,
I liked it with the fact that they could have done this with Gowonja, they could have done this with so many other series, but no, Kiramager's the one that's done this brain swapping thing with a difference. And it also taught a good story, especially like the way that Juru
Mhm.
appreciates his fire Kirama stone.
Yeah, and like how his stone is a lot like him, but in a different way. You know what I
There's
mean?
that, but I'd say it's like, I think it teaches a good lesson in appreciation. So, we've got the whole thing about, Firestone supporting Juru, and then the other four come to realise that about their own stones. And then
Hmm.
if you want to talk about the whole artistic merit, there's this whole thing about art having no boundaries, which I do believe, again, is an amazing lesson to teach children.
Hmm.
There's also a lot of comedy here. Like I was constantly laughing, but to be backward, the intro did have a very clever play on the audience. So we had that kind of going on with Gaza and Crunchula, and then
Hmm.
seeing like the Kirima Stones running around, I thought that was quite funny in the.
Yeah, and like just seeing their reaction to actually being in battle instead of being mecha, that was unique, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. And you could tell like they were like not think like you could tell that they also had their own way of like fighting. They just weren't used to it.
Hmm. I mean, I'll say, like anything else you want to add for episode 19?
I do think it's possible that the Kira stones may have been humans beforehand, before they got crystallized.
I wouldn't think so because like the scenes we see in 21 and 22, we actually do see like King Orodin fighting with the stones in hand. But I will say in episode 20, like moving on to episode 20, I mean, on one hand, I'm not too hot on the episode, but and there wasn't
Hmm.
necessarily plot holes, but the resolution didn't really make sense to me. I mean, there was a lot of involvement from Gaza and Crunchula in terms of this whole. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't that much involvement, but
Yeah,
then
they were
there
introducing
was
this new
like,
general like
but
that.
like this glue monster, which again has been done before, and I do think, like, because it comes, there was that female student from episode 0. Have you seen episode 0?
Yeah.
Right, so there was the female student from episode 0, and like I found her irritating then, and I'll be honest, I found her irritating for most of episode 20. And I think right at the end, I was like, all right, I'll
I enjoyed it. I
get around
like.
to her. But
I
the
do
whole
hope.
thing about because normally it's like, are they keeping their identity a secret or aren't they? And then this episode really mishmashes that whole concept.
Hmm. And like I do accept them as a couple though. They're very like and they're like opposites, but they're together. Like sometimes opposites attract.
I do like the fact that the other four, it's like, oh, you guys are really famous, even though they're all from like different industries, and then they're all playing the super modest, ah, ha, 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 kind of thing. I kind of like
Hmm.
that, if I'm honest.
And then Takamichi comes in and pretty much
He's
fucks
just a
over.
student, yeah. But then I will say this right up. It's in that exactly same scene that our mentor does a pen pineapple apple pen reference,
Yep.
does it in this episode, and I literally screamed when I saw that. I was like, oh my god.
PPAP.
I
I
was
have
like,
a pen.
no,
I have a.
I was just like, he had to drop that in at some point during this series, and he's just.
It was
Did
only
you
a
notice
matter
it?
of
Did you
time.
notice it?
Yeah, I did actually.
The
And I'm like, oh, Apple Pen.
only thing I'll say about episodes 19 and 20 is they weren't strictly focus episodes on Red, but Red did kind of play a little bit center stage still. But
Hmm.
going on to episode 21, at least we've because episode 21 does kind of turn it back onto Silver, but then I felt episode 22 made it heavy on Red again, which I'm thinking out of these four episodes, it seems to be a very Red centric quadruple theme.
Episode, yeah. But maybe that's because, Red was for a bit.
I mean, do you have anything more to add on episode 20?
I do ship them though. I ship Juru and the girl. Like I do hope that they actually continue it.
I don't think.
So
I think I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong, but I reckon that. I mean, the fact that they brought her back from episode 0, I'm just like, yeah. But
Mhm.
I think now that she's like found herself in the new nerddom, that I think it's the last we've seen. And
Mhm.
maybe in a movie or crossover or something, or maybe right at the end. But I very much doubt right at the end. Maybe in the movies or something.
Mhm.
So episode 21. So most of this episode to me didn't make too much sense, and I'm sure there was like plenty of plot holes that I didn't even pick up on. But then one that I did pick up on is like they established this thing about King Oridin and Mabushina's mother rather, like was
Mhm.
some sort of fight, and then they show Mabushina's mother turning to dust. But in this episode, they show her specifically turning to dust in bed after 7 days, which is a massive conflict and plot hole and a serious lack of continuity with all the flashbacks we had prior to episode 21.
Well, they did. Takamichi did say that she was too young to understand what
No,
really
no, no, no.
happened.
Mabushina herself, yeah, was, but whenever like the example of when I believe it must have been penned by that Picataro. Why do we keep calling him Picataro?
It's because it's
Picataro.
dumbass.
So Picataro, I'm pretty sure it was Picataro that told the Kiramagers about the story. And again, whenever we saw Mabushina's mother, she was standing up,
Mhm.
turned to dust. In Takamichi, when they eventually told Mabushina, they told it more precisely, and that it was after 7 days. Mabushina's mother was in bed, and she basically turned to dust while in bed, which again, for me, is a lack of continuity, even if they're all talking in flashback mode, I guess.
Mhm.
And then it's like, they tried to establish a story a little different. But I'll say that, also this thing about the Granta stones, like we saw the first stone turn to black, and then we actually see in this episode the fishing monster just constantly using it for his own ends, and the stone stays intact. So
Well,
this
the
just seems
thing
to be
is, they
me like
said
moaning about this, but yeah, go on.
I don't think he's like. I don't think it lasted for 20 minutes. So, like, that's the thing. So, therefore, he may have been able to use it multiple times.
But this is the thing. But then when you look into episode 22, you then see them using it. So again, there's some massive inconsistency going on with this.
Or maybe it's different for each stone. Like maybe we don't
I
know
mean,
that for
because like when
sure.
it comes to the Kirama stone, well, it comes to the Granta stones, right? I'll say that they, like we get it established that even prior to episode 0, Kirama Silva gets the book. Garza tells him to go off on one. He goes off on one. So he's had this book all this time, and he was already on it. He was already established as Kirama Silva, where, like when he fought Monja or whatever that water poison monster was.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, it's only in these recent few episodes that he's found one, and then he's suddenly found the second. And even then, that fishing monster beat him to it. So what's going on? That's just kind of that's kind of what I'm just seeing on that. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it just happens on this episode, like, when it comes to the monster design, especially this fishing monster. I do actually rate the retro design and all. But then, like, the Ultraman style of the enlarged monster.
Kaiju.
Yeah, the kaiju. Though this episode seems to have bad editing, and, like, I'm feeling that Kirama Silver seems to go from, like, a shiny silver to a dark grey.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just me?
Or it might be the battle suit, because for the battle suit they use a very dull,
But
they use a
still,
very
like,
dull.
it's noticeable to me. And then it's like, and then it's like, even during the scene where the fisherman gets away, like, he's just standing there going, Kirama Silver's just standing there going, oh, you've got a Granta stone. And then it's like, like, just don't talk, just get the stone. But no. I mean, because
It's kind of like Super Mega
think
Force or
about
something.
episode 21 and 22. Is like, again, there's so many ways that all these problems could have been resolved so easy, but then we wouldn't have had a 23-minute story.
Yeah.
Still, I'm just like, come on, man. Don't talk. Just grab it.
Hmm. But maybe he couldn't. I don't like because of a force field or something. Unspoken
I mean,
force field.
just to wrap up on my end for episode 1, I'll still say that, like we got introduced to these Yodon sisters. One was a water poison. I mean, this is almost like we're talking about Pokemon.
Like I don't even
It's like
remember those.
we've got water poison, and then we've got a fire bird. I don't know, bird. I mean,
And like we never heard of these people. We never hear them like
well, no,
spoken.
that's fair enough because, like, again, they established the story of how Mabushina's mother got poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, is it a poison or is it a curse? They're not really. Again, there's a lot of mishmash going on.
Maybe well, she did die beforehand, so she probably cursed.
No, she died after 7 days.
No. I'm talking about the witch. She killed herself in order to poison her or to curse her.
But then the other one, the other sister, just got away. So I reckon we're going to be seeing that sister at some point.
I do think so too. I think they did say that she'll be coming back very soon.
Who did?
The scandal. I don't know for sure.
Well, I mean, it doesn't take rocket science, but still, episode 22. Now, this I felt there was a lot of plot holes in this. Like, on one hand, the dilemmas here could have been solved a lot easier, but then they just took it the long way around, so we got a story across the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how to feel about the new mecha they introduced here, and obviously there's this brain thing that's going on. I mean, it's not as intense, but it's more than Magi Ranger and Gowonja. But the King Express Zabian is what it's called, which I barely heard them mention. But quickly brushed over the story as to how Juru drew the train. It's nuts.
Yeah, like they could have used that to expand the episode. Voice crack. They could have used that part to fill it in. Instead of having like a very instead of the stuff we had earlier in the episode. We could have had that scene where he was making the train appear with his Kiramager.
But I'll still say the previous episode. I mean, I do like the way that he did design it with the previous lessons. They very vaguely touched on the fact that they went to an aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
The whole, I can't remember the name of the shark.
Magnolians or something, or Vincesi's or whatever.
Right, or whatever it was. But I did like kind of the throwback to the previous episode where they were just randomly in an aquarium. And then it's it just happens to be a boat villain. And then it becomes like a shark train. He's a dolphin or something, really. But... but again, this happy ending that we get with Mabushina and we get our Aqua Kirama Stone. But I'm just it just poses a whole load of questions, and I'm just you know what? It'll be... Because, especially when you look at the preview for episode 23, it's just oh, great, they're just going to do loads of happy endings all over, and I'm not really hot on it.
I want to see a sad ending in a Sentai.
I don't need it too sad. I need a clever ending. So, but this is, I think, to be fair, all right, it's post-COVID and, they're on a budget and, at least our hero Juru's, done with COVID. But, I don't know, maybe they could be a little bit more clever than what they're being, really.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully they'll watch this and be like, okay, we see your concern. We'll see what we can do.
Alright. Well, that's us talking about the episode. So just to quickly round off this little cast, I will ask you, Zeron, what do you think of our 6th Ranger, Kirama Silva, in comparison to 6th Rangers before him?
He's alright. There's he's kind of dumb. He doesn't really have that many qualities per se about him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Look at somebody like Kanalo or Uchimaru from Kyoryuger. Those guys were great 6 heroes, but this guy, I don't know.
I think because for me, because he's been so concentrating on the Grant Stones, and like they've given him like they've made him a chivalrous character, which I like about.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he just doesn't have the charisma that again Canelo or even Kyoryu Gold has.
Mm-hmm.
I think this Sixth Ranger's got a long way. Even though like they really pushed it, with his introductory episodes. But like take episode 21 where he was vaguely in it, but again the last 90, episodes 19 to 22 seems to be very red centric, which considering these are stories about Mabushina, but maybe episode 23 we might be able to see a little bit more of Kirama Silva. But I did
Mm-hmm.
it was cool in the scene where he was alongside the king and queen of Crystalia in the water poison monster.
Mm-hmm. I would like to see him and Pikotaro young. Like, what were their relationship like? Because they were brothers before everything.
Well, because again, like we had it established that he's actually older, but because he was in Crystalia, he ages slower. So, who knows? Maybe we'll get to see our sixth hero mature. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. So this is the end of our episode on Kiramager. Just to let you guys know that you can catch us all on the social medias. Starting with my boy Dragon Zeron, fellow admin at the Tokusatsu Media Center. And he's also got his own YouTube channel, his Instagram, and his Patreon. Then
go subscribe to my YouTube. We're close to 1,000, and I'm probably gonna do something very big for my 1,000 subscribers. So
go for it. And for Toku Bros, that's ourselves. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on this YouTube channel, as well as our Twitter at Toku Bros 71. And then finally, myself, RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku. I have been reviewing Super Sentai on my channel this week, so do feel free to check out parts 1, 2, and 3.
They're all 20 minutes long, so he definitely put a lot of work into them.
Right, and then next week I'm going to be reviewing Power Rangers, so that's going to be great. And, you can catch all of that on my Facebook, on my Twitter, on my YouTube, on my Instagram, at RyuKiva Toku, and I'm also bouncing around on Patreon and WordPress at ryukivatoku.wordpress.com. So thank you all for watching, and see you again next time. Fist to the cam.